What's up, everybody? It's the Craft Beer Playbook Season 2. We're moving on to bigger and better things. I know Brian's pumped, and we're starting out the gates talking to a very, very favorable person we're excited to chat with from Big Storm Brewing. And not just anybody we just randomly met off the street, but the president and co-owner of Big Storm Brewery, LJ Govoni. And we're excited to chat with you here, man, and just kind of get into some things. Brian's at his place, I'm at mine, but we both got a couple of Big Storm brews we're going to get into as well. And we've also got a new segment on the show coming up after LJ today for everybody watching and listening. That's going to be our friend of the show, where we just grab a random fan of a sports team and kind of get their takes. We've got Florida man, Buccaneer Ben. He's going to join us in about 15, 20 minutes. But again, we're going to talk a lot of Big Storm Brewing to start things off here. Reminder to follow us on social media. You can catch us a bunch of different ways at the Craft Beer Playbook on both Facebook and Instagram, and then at Beer Playbook on Twitter, and at thecraftbeerplaybook.com if you want to check out the site. We got a lot of things working over there as well. But let's kick things off. And Brian, I know you got a beer, right? You got a beer somewhere in there?
Yeah. So as we're setting up here, LJ was going with the key lime. So I'm going to follow your lead there, LJ. And I'm going to pop one at the top here too.
Woo. I'm going to go with the Headhunter. I'm going, or the Headhunter, Hurricane Hunter is where I'm starting, which is right up my alley. I love this. It's not a New England IPA. It's a New Zealand IPA. Very different. And I'm excited to drink this. LJ, welcome to the show, man. Welcome to the Craft Beer Playbook.
Hey guys,
appreciate your time.
Yeah,
cheers.
There we
yes,
go.
baby.
Yeah.
Like already knows he gets it. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that is, you know what? That is a slightly different like taste than I expected. I don't know if I've ever had a New Zealand IPA. So we got a lot of questions for you, LJ, obviously, about the branding of Big Storm, how it started, how far you guys have come, how you've grown. I want to start with the New Zealand question, though. Like, where'd this come from? Because, again, you know the New England IPA, but the New Zealand IPA, that's unique.
Yeah, so, listen, we're not that creative. I mean, it's the New Zealand IPA because we exclusively used hops from New Zealand. Joel, our head brewer, I think cultivated 4 hops. It might be 3. Thought it was 4. Exclusively all from New Zealand. Wanted to try something new. Got to use new materials we've never used before. And that Hurricane Hunter series is really where we get to kind of play with some IPAs that we've never done before. Historically, we're not a brewery known for very hoppy beer, and fortunately, that's changing a little bit as our team gets bigger and better, and we have more time to do stuff. And I think that's the second expression from that series, right? And just trying new stuff that for the hophead.
Brian's a hophead. I think we've been calling him that for years. It's very tasty, and it's interesting. I was telling Brian, like I've been to the Clearwater location a bunch, and it's one of the most beautiful, like, scenic areas to drink a beer that I've ever been to. And I'm not just saying that because you're on the show. Like, literally, just the setup that you guys have over there, it's really nice aesthetically. I mean, the beer is great, but just to be able to, like, look around is really cool, too. And then, obviously, that's not your only location. LJ, can you just chat about the growth in the big area that is covered now by Big Storm?
Yeah. So I mean, we're a brewery. We like to say we're born in Pasco, raised in Pinellas, right? Mm-hmm. So we moved in around the corner of the same industrial park. In 2012, we started in a little 2,500 square foot location in the middle bay of 3 with a 3-barrel direct fire system. We quickly moved into a 15-barrel. Total POS from China. You'd get near it and you get 3rd-degree burns just standing next to it. And so when we built our production facility in Clearwater, we always knew we had to keep something in Pasco. It would have been a lot easier for us, right? Just to straight up move out of Pasco, but we'll never do that. So we moved around the corner into an 8,000 square foot location. And as time's gone on, that it started as like our small batch facility to what is Clearwater. But now, fortunately, with our other locations, we have so many places we can brew beer. That Pasco location has become our sour facility. All we do there is sours, live cultures, 5 different sour cultures at any given time. So we're cranking out a lot of pretty good stuff up there. And then we have Cape Coral. So we first took over Cape Coral Brewing Company, and we eventually ended up taking over Big Blue around the corner from them. It's a brew pub, traditional brew pub, 2-vessel, 5-barrel system. huge kitchen. It's our biggest kitchen of anything we have so far. And that's just R&D, small batch stuff. That's where Cape Coral IPA was born. That brewer there had a lot of success in helping us dial in Bromosa. And we've got the Amway Center in Orlando. So, really, this is really a casualty of COVID, but I'm not going to say we're brewing it. I mean, we're not trying to brew in Orlando, but we have a half barrel system, with this really, really tiny system. So we've got another system on order that's taken forever to get here. And I think when that happens again, that facility will be like super, super R&D, just yeasts we've never used. We're going to try materials we've never used before. And, ultimately it'll be a little 3-barrel system. So if we make a mistake, it's, we're dumping 3 barrels of beer, not 5, 15, or 30. And we're really close to opening another location, a big restaurant. So we have 500 seats in Hillsborough County. So haven't signed the lease yet, or I'd be I'd drop it here as the exclusive.
You can break news, man. Hey, we're all about breaking news, bro.
I'll just say, it's a location that unfortunately another brewery already told the world we were going to a few months ago, and that just wasn't true then. The irony is it's true now. So we're really, really excited about this next location, and I think the functional purpose of that next location, other than serving people, right, having restaurant hospitality, will probably make that the home of our imperial stouts, our barrel-aged beers, coffee porters. I think it just lent that the aesthetic of that building and the location just lends perfect to that stuff.
So I know Brian's dying to jump in here real quick, though, before I hand the mic over. What would you attribute most to the growth? Because there's a lot of breweries we go to that are good breweries. They got some good people, but, they're still smaller. Yeah. They're really struggling to kind of take that next step. And here you all are over there taking not only the next step, but the one after that and after that and after that. Right. So what would you attribute that you guys do specifically at Big Storm that's helped that?
Yeah, listen, first and foremost, it's our team. I mean, that's not just like a cliche answer. I mean, I'll put our team against anybody. I think we have a great team, and they bleed Big Storm blue. And so, that's number one, right? Number two is, I think, just having a pair, going against the culture. So I've always found it ironic in craft beer, where we're supposed to be counterculture, anti the man, how many people do the exact same thing as the other brewery next to them around the corner? Yeah, right. So I look at the Craft Brewers Alliance, and you put the seal of a craft brewery. So I've got to prove my independence by signing up to a group that I get to turn over my approval of my graphics to prove my independence. That doesn't have to defeat the purpose of counterculture, anti the man. And so I think that kind of dovetails into the real reason is we've done things the Big Storm way. I don't care. None of us care here at all if another prominent brewery thinks poorly of us. Because I'll put our liquid. I mean, I think our liquid goes against with anybody. But to do what we're doing on our scale, you just got to do it your own way. And I think that's a big part of it. I respect everyone that's in the industry. But when someone tells me how I should run my business, I just laugh at them because I think we're doing okay the way we're doing it. Right. And it's the irony again is we're not doing what everyone says you should be doing, which is, again, I think, what is craft, right? Like, just not going mainstream.
Yeah, a little competitor in you there. I feel like we're talking sports, man. LJ's taking off the gloves.
He gave us the mic drop as he picked up.
Yeah, I mean,
took a nice big sip.
I'm not gonna say it's a sensitive subject, but I mean, we just, we've unfortunately been the heel for a long time in the industry locally, hyper locally, right? And I've never understood it. Okay, so I didn't go kiss the ring. So I was fortunate enough that we had the business sense to start with, what most people know us, to start with a 30-barrel production facility. I'm not going to apologize for that, because I didn't start on a 2-barrel system for 5 years till I had enough cash to buy everything. That's silly. That's asinine. And, there's businesses that believe that, good for them if that's the lifestyle they want. But good luck. You're not going to get distribution like we're getting. You're not going to go multi-state like we're doing. You're not going to get a distillery like we did. And I think that's a big difference. I love all of my brethren, but you still got to look around the room and say, everyone in the room is doing the same thing. I don't want to do what everyone else is doing. We don't want to do what everyone else is doing. So I really think it's the team and just having a pair to do what no one else was comfortable doing. Right.
Yeah. So to kind of piggyback off of that then, because obviously you've talked about your team being so important. I'm assuming that what you mean by that is your team kind of embodies that sense of independence that you're talking about here. And I'm assuming that's the key to success with Big Storm, is like your team being able to think outside the box?
Yeah, think outside the box. Hustle, work hard, think like every one of them thinks like an entrepreneur. Very fortunate, from our salespeople down to our cellarmen. They treat our dollar like their dollar, and sometimes to our detriment, right? Like, I've had to explain, hey, I know you think you saved us $5, but really cost us $20, and here's why. They won't make that mistake twice, but a lot of the new guys and gals do that. But yeah, I mean, it's really, we're just going to do things our way, and if you like it, great. If you don't care. If our distributor doesn't like it, well, then there's something to talk about. If a big account doesn't like something we're doing, well, there's certainly something to talk about. I'm not going to drop the name, but a retailer a few years ago got upset that I went to 16-ounce cans, a big retailer. And my response was, well, with all due respect, you don't give me enough business based on what I'm going to sell for not having to switch my canning line over, 8 times a year. So sorry, it's what I'm doing. And they said, you're out. And I'm like, uh-oh, bad decision. But it embodied that's just the truth. That's where we were, right? So, I think you're right. It's a fair way to say it. I think this team here that we have, the Big Storm way is just doing things the right way and doing them our way.
Awesome. Clearly it's working too. I mean, look, you can't argue with the success that you guys are having over there. It's interesting. I think back to like my experiences with Big Storm. I know there was something, I want to say it was 3 years ago. You guys had like a chocolatier in, like some guy that's like big in chocolate. And he like I was in the, do you know what I'm talking about? I vaguely remember it.
William Dean in Clearwater. He's a chocolatier. Yeah.
Yes, dude. Yeah. I was at that event and he had all these little chocolates put out. And I was like, this is the weirdest beer thing I've ever been to, but I loved it. It was a blast.
So that's certainly an example of, maybe our more refined corporate background, right? So all of us, a little different than just the craft brewer. But in fairness, I was there and it was my event and it was weird and uncomfortable. Where that was supposed to go, though, and it's just the things that happen in the day, that was supposed to dovetail into a chocolate flight at our brewery with 5 different chocolate-inspired beers and then, like, chocolate cups. And,
like, you can eat them, like chocolate, edible cups?
We made these, like, 4-ounce molds. And then, imagine, like, so that sounds like a really good idea. And then very quickly, I'm sure you both are like, that sounds like a stupid ass idea. And it was a terrible idea. Like, just chocolate melted everywhere.
Yeah, Florida.
But yeah, it was such a bad idea. But I remember going into that, like, we are doing this. And I'll give the team credit. I mean, we'll make a mistake twice, right, before we change. And we didn't get out the gate. They made some molds out of plastic, some cups out of us for us. Mm-hmm. And we poured the beer in there and it just immediately started melting in our hand. We're like, this is not good.
See, but that's cool though, because like, again, you got to take chances to come up with some of these more unique opportunities. And honestly, if nothing else, that's a hell of a story to tell at the brewery. Like, those are the types of things that we look for when we talk to different people, around the Tampa Bay area here on the Craft Beer Playbook. And that's certainly a fun one. I know that another thing that Brian and I both love, and judging from your Twitter at LG Govoni, you can check it out there as well. I noticed that you're a Lightning fan, and Big Storm has worked with the Lightning in the past. I had I had the 25th anniversary cans. I had a bunch of them. Sure. I drank them all. I don't know if any have made the trip the last couple of years, apartment jumping, but just talk about like how important it is, that relationship with beer and sports in general, and how you guys have been able to kind of capitalize on that.
Sure. So, we're no longer a partner of the Lightning now. I mean, you guys know that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
What's up? And to be honest with you, for what it's worth, I mean, when our renegotiation came up, I said, honestly, guys, I don't have that money, but you really should talk to Star City. So that's the perfect partnership. I'm serious. That was 100% what I said to them. But why it mattered to us, why it was great for us, and what we took from it was just the experience, right? Like the emotional experience tied to sports. And then when you can transcend, or when you can tie that emotional experience to a flavor, to a scent, to a smell, and you can now own that, that's huge, right? So, unfortunately, we weren't the partner during this last playoff run. And COVID made it uniquely challenging for anybody to do. But, if we had, assuming we were, I feel like you pick up longtime customers. Maybe they're not monogamous to your beer, right? We know that that's really not, it's not grandfather's beer anymore, where it's I only drink Bud and that's it, or I drink Miller and that's it. But you've now tied somebody forever and ever back to that time where their team, when they were with their friends, and their team won the Stanley Cup. Like that there's I can never replicate that, right? Like, that's kind of psychology 101. So, you know, the most fundamental, like basic level, there's that. But then I look and say, you know, what two things? I don't think there are two things greater that have a sense of tying community together than sports and beer, right? Like,
yes, sir.
We agree.
Regardless, especially as you go around the country, around the world. I'm sorry. I mean, you know, you go to Europe. I mean, your neighborhood brewery or your neighborhood pub is also the church, and is also town hall, and is also all these other things. And then when you add in the complexity or the extra layer of sports, you know, it's a very, very easy thing to do. So as long as, you know, you can afford it, like we've done in the past. That's why we're partners with the Rowdies. That's why we do stuff with the Clearwater Threshers. That's why we do stuff with the Pirates, the Marauders, their minor league team. And uniquely, you know, I'll just say, not that you asked, but I'll just say, as important as major league sports are, I don't think there's a better connector than minor league sports, because, you know, some sports are better than others. But let's look at the NFL. I love my Bucs. You know, our Bloody Mary company is a sponsor of theirs, but it's not inexpensive to go to a Bucs game, right? There's only 16. Right. There's only 8 games a year, and so when you can go to a minor league baseball team that still has $1 hot dog and $1 beer nights, and, you know, their kids running around, you know, family running around for $30. Dad had 2 beers and a hot dog. Kids had a hot dog, right? Like, I think that's the same exact thing. It's that emotional experience tied to a beverage.
So for you, LJ, you talk a lot about, you know, having that nostalgia and everything kind of tied into, you know, beer and what you're trying to do there. So for you, out of everything that you've been able to accomplish so far with Big Storm, what's been like the biggest accomplishment, the thing that you're the most proud of so far?
Oh, man. Honestly, I think getting through COVID, not having to lay a single person off.
Wow.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Hey, I'll cheers to that.
We're really, really fortunate. Yeah, cheers. Really fortunate. And I got to tell you, you know, I think it paid dividends. You know, my team knows this. I mean, my partners and I sacrificed to make sure that happened. And I would double down and do it again. Because I think, you know, that seminal moment of saying we're not laying anyone off. In fact, we picked up great talent from people that their companies were quick to lay them off, right? You know, very, very quick. Like, oh, can't mess with the CEO's pay. Got to fire everybody. That was never a consideration between me and my partners. And, you know, we did what we had to do as owners, regardless of how little or how much of the business we owned, to make sure that everyone stayed together. And listen, I hope that, you know, it's the first GABF medal, or I hope it's an award in the future that I can transcend that moment. But I got to tell you, you know, once we made that decision, we put pen and paper, and we realized financially we were going to be close, but we could probably make it work. I think that's probably the most important thing, or the best thing we've ever done here. And it's paid dividends. It's going to keep paying dividends.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that really ties into the culture that you're trying to build there. Everything that you talked about as far as it being a team. And, you know, one thing you said that really stood out to me is how, you know, everyone that works there, you know, thinks like an entrepreneur. And you don't get that with a lot of places, you know, especially, you know, with, you know, the beverage industry, people are, you know, handing out drinks and stuff like that. So to have your staff kind of believe in the dream with you, that's awesome. So it's great to hear that.
Listen, you know, not that I don't check. If one of our employees ever watches this, I don't want to think that I don't see if they ever give away product. But the reality is, you know, when a comp is appropriate, there's a comp, right? When we have a loyal customer, there's a loyal customer. It's not that I don't check. I trust but verify. But I think the things we've done, exactly right. It's back to culture and what we're trying to build here. Those small things I'm never really worried about. And because if they happen, they stand out so bad. Like, compared to the rest of the peer set, you know, you're like, hey, you know, Steven, can I talk to you? I mean, you know right away.
Yeah. It's so funny you say that too, because like I have friends, obviously they come into town and we try to kind of send them to different breweries. We give them some tips on places that they can go. And, you know, there's been some instances where, not in a Big Storm, but at other breweries, and I won't mention them, that they've stepped in and immediately left because they weren't taken care of, or the vibe was off. And like you said, I think this community, if you drink craft beer, I think you kind of get that vibe pretty quickly, if it's a place you want to be or not when you step inside the door. And one thing you guys have done great over there at Big Storm is kind of create that environment, not just for the workers, but for the customers too, to be able to pop in and kind of, you know, enjoy their experience. So we definitely appreciate having a chat with you, LJ. I got a couple more for you here. I know you guys are busy, so I'm gonna get a couple more out if we can real quick.
Sure.
your favorite beer that Big Storm has brewed.
Oh.
Or top 3 if it's too. I know some people are like, I can't pick one. If you don't want to pick a favorite child, top 3, no order.
So Havana After Midnight, the coffee porter. We haven't had the ability to do it in a while. We've just been jammed with other stuff. Havana After Midnight. Helicity, which is a German Pilsner that we haven't done in a while because of tank space, but I'm working on a plan to have a lager facility. Like that's all we do is lagers, so that will come back.
Very nice.
Which is awesome because now I'll drink more of that. Not that I don't drink enough. And I think it was our 2021 to 2020. Our 2019 Belgian quintuple was pretty awesome.
Quintuple.
I didn't like it,
no
but
way.
It was like brandy. It was.
I was gonna say the ABV had to be through the roof on that thing.
Yeah, I think that batch was either 14.5.
Good night. Good night.
And it was sweeter. I mean, we had a lot more residual sugar than I know Joel wanted to have, but it was great.
LJ, I need you to pick my next beer. All right. So I've got these two. I've got the Bromosa and I've got Arcus. So I'm going to let you choose. Choose Arcus? All right.
So Arcus is one of those beers that's a legacy beer for us, right? Like it was one of the first beers we brewed in distribution. I think as profiles and preferences have changed, it's kind of lost its way with the consumer. But I look at that and say that's only because Tampa as a whole, like our entire community, has stepped up as just brewing really, really good beer. So in our tap room, like Pasco, that's still our number one beer in Pasco. It's been our number one beer in Pasco. And it'll more than likely always be our number one beer in Pasco. But yeah, it's a good beer. I just wish it, there's only so many brands in the day we can rep, right? And it's just kind of gets lost in the shuffle.
It's interesting too. A couple of the ones that I had early on from you guys, the Tropic Pressure and the Wave Maker, those two are two that like I've had it a beach, a pool, and a boat. Like those beers have just been money outside for me. So we're excited about the beers to come. We're excited about the beers that are already on stock. And LJ, man, we appreciate it. I was telling Brian we got to get out. We'll have to do a show with you live out there where we actually get to kind of sit around and chat with you a little bit more, maybe meet some of the
I'll wear my
flip-flops.
I'll hit the beach up right after that.
There you go. Yeah, man, love to have you guys.
If you guys need a live person to mascot your Bromosa, Brian is literally the embodiment of the Bromosa.
I think
it is him.
Yeah, that works. You got some aviators?
Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm down. Let's do it.
LJ, well, we always leave our guests with one question, and it's when a customer walks out of Big Storm, what do you want them to be thinking about?
Attention that they came here and got the value they expected because our brand, whether it be liquid or the hospitality or food, right? Liquid, hospitality, or the food. All were up to and exceeded their expectation.
Fantastic. Awesome.
All right,
LJ. We appreciate you, brother. We'll talk soon, man. Cheers.
Cheers. Thank you.
So that was LJ. I'm trying to get his name right because he helped me with it. So it's
Govoni.
LJ Govoni. Yeah, see, look, let me try it, Brian. I got it, man.
You already failed.
Yeah, I know. Well, that's why you're the English major. You're better.
Govoni the Zamboni. That's how you remember it. You'll remember it now.
See, why didn't you tell me that before we brought it?
I don't know. I just followed it halfway through.
Anyways, all right, we're gonna take a quick commercial break, and then Florida man, also big Bucs fan, big Rays fan, the Florida man, big Gator fan, Ben Lansford. He's gonna hop on board with us again after this quick commercial.
Right after he gets on.
Craft Beer Playbook blooper
What is a guayabera?
Some kind of horse.
Do we know what a guayabera is? I'm Googling
I don't know
it.
what that animal
I'm
is.
Googling it. What is a guayabera? I didn't spell that right at all. Could you spell it right now without looking at it?
Yeah. G-U-A. No.
Not your average bear there, Guayabera.
See, I'm very cultured, so things are easy for me.
You're not cultured enough. It's an open-necked Cuban or Mexican shirt with 2 breast pockets and 2 pockets over the hips, typically having short sleeves and worn untucked. Looks like I know what you're getting for your birthday, and it's not the beer.
You should both wear Guayaberas for the next
You should
episode.
totally wear one for the next episode. You should totally wear one.
You said it's Mexican, which makes me feel bad because my wife is Mexican and I didn't know what a Guayabera was.
But now when she comes home, you can be like, babe, I'm going to buy a Guayabera.
Craft Beer Playbook.
This is the Craft Beer Playbook. I'm Zach. That's Brian. That's Brian. I'm Zach.
Regular guys, we love craft beer. We love sports. So,
Belichick or Brady? Who's the guy? I think one of the conversations we have the most about the Lightning is the Steven Stamkos dilemma and how much he contributed to that cup.
like, does Eli Manning deserve to be in the Hall of Fame? I like that.
Of course you do.
It's their specialty there at Angry Chair.
Magnanimous. I'm wearing the hat right now.
Hidden Springs.
And Brew Bus is another great thing here in Tampa Bay.
Here, let's show off the can here. Coppertail Brewery.
Like, that's interesting. That's tasty. I don't know if I could have a full one, though. Best beer you've ever had?
Oh, I smell it. That's got a good aroma. That thing's strong.
Smacks you. Again, this is the Craft Beer Playbook. Zach and Brian. Make sure you're following us on all social media. Easy to find at the Craft Beer Playbook on both Instagram and Facebook. At Beer Playbook on Twitter, because apparently there's too many characters in the Craft Playbook.
Community. And if you feel you're part of the community who A, loves sports, B, loves craft beer, or both, right? Then this is the spot for you, and we want obviously help growing this.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right.
We're gonna have no problems drinking these.
We might have to get double beers next time.
I'm ready.
Back in it, back at
What up?
I'll just go straight in. Doesn't even let me intro. Oh my gosh. I know he moved the Peloton because we talked all this smack. The Craft Beer Playbook Season 2. We're into our second segment of the first episode back. First of all, big shout out to LJ from Big Storm Brewing. Appreciate him giving us a few minutes. Really appreciate all the things they do at Big Storm Brewing and Distillery. You can find them very easily. We're going to chat with our friend of the show segment, Ben. And now listen, the best part about this is our first friend of the show segment. I don't know why we started with Ben, but hopefully he doesn't let us down here. And he's a Florida man. He's a Bucs fan. He's a Rays fan. He's in Gainesville. Brian, is there anything I missed on the intro that you want to get in there?
I mean, there's a lot you missed, but we'll let him intro himself at this point.
I guess I should unmute him. Oh man, this is nice.
Is he muted right now?
I wish in my life I had the opportunity to mute Ben sometimes. Yeah. This might be the only
take that opportunity when you get the chance because it's not often.
Ben, what are you drinking, man? What are you
drinking? Cheers to start. What are you drinking, bro?
I'm drinking a Voodoo Ranger Captain Dynamite IPA.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
We'll cheers to that.
Cheers to that for sure.
Here's the fun part, though, about having Ben on because my man drinks some craft beers now, but he was against it for a while for the longest time.
I was anti-craft beer for the longest. I was Bud Light, Bud Heavy, and of course Natural Ice,
Natural Natty Daddy. So Ben, what kickstarted your change down that road towards craft beer?
Honestly, y'all kept taking me to breweries where they didn't have Bud Light and Budweiser. So I was like, you either conform or you get lost in the shuffle, man. So I had to start the IPAs though. That's where it's at. Y'all turned me on to IPAs. I started actually craving them after a while, and then so like all the other, double imperial tastes like a peanut butter jelly sandwich. That stuff could go away. The IPAs are where it's at though, for real. And it was really because of y'all.
What was the quicker sell for you? Like, what did you become a fan of faster in terms of transformation? Craft beer or Tom Brady when he got to the Bucs?
Oh, Tom Brady when he was here. I bought my 16-month-old daughter a Tom Brady onesie, first chance I could get.
What are you rocking there? Let's see that shirt, bro.
Oh, I'm rocking the tie-dye Bucs Super Bowl.
That a Super Bowl champ shirt?
Yes. You got to rock the tie-dye when you get a chance.
Kind of surprised you didn't wear the McDonald's Sap jersey, though.
Oh yeah, the McDonald's. I started wearing it for the Washington game, That shirt had some losses in it, and so I had to give it a win.
Oh man!
And I actually gave it the Monday night Giants game. I'm like, there's no way the Bucs are going to lose this game. So the Sap jersey's like 0-4. I have to give it a win. So I gave it, and they almost lost that game. I think
almost lose.
It was like overtime. The Sap jersey. Once the Sap jersey got some wins in it, it was all good.
Which Bucs Super Bowl team was better, the one in the early 2000s or last year?
Man, it's when you're a kid and you're watching your favorite team, that's just something that you can't beat. And so that defense right there, and Allstott, the whole team, the defense, one of the best defense of all time. I always say it, and I'm sure I get side eye from people, but had 4 easy Hall of Famers, could have been a 5th or 6th maybe too on that team. So probably the old team, but this team has a chance to surpass that this year for sure.
Now, when you're talking some NFL draft, I kind of prepped you guys both. Everyone knows Brian's a big Dolphins fan. Obviously, Miami and Tampa Bay are in 2 very different situations, with the Bucs picking 32nd because they're Super Bowl champs. And then on the flip side, you have the Dolphins with half of the draft picks in the first round. I believe 16 out of 32. So how different is it, guys? And I'll let you two kind of jump in here on this, to approach draft night as a fan, knowing that one of your teams is literally the last pick. So Ben, do you even care? And then Brian, I mean, you're just going to be this has to be the best day of the year for you. On the flip side, it's opposite.
Ben, go ahead. I'll defer to you because I don't know what it feels like to win a Super Bowl.
No, honestly, like every year, what am I doing on the last Thursday of April? I'm usually slamming beers at like 6:30, waiting for the first 5, 6, 7, 8 picks of the draft. And then I'm just like, whatever happens after this doesn't matter. And then I like go to bed earlier, just don't even pay attention anymore. So this year I'm actually like, I don't even know what I'm going to do that night. Should I even watch? I mean, I don't even know, because who's going to be there at 32? And we're in such a good position we can literally go 8 or 9 ways and it doesn't matter. So
who's your perfect player there? Who's your perfect player at 32? If obviously like Trevor Lawrence isn't going to be available, but like you can reach a little, like who is the perfect player?
Well, I mean, it's so hard because they can build for the future. They can win now. And let's win now while we got it, because you don't know what you got down the line. If Tony or Rondell Moore's there, I don't care. Get another weapon. Let's go.
You want the receivers so bad. I know.
I want one of them so bad.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I mean, that's the benefit you have, though, right? When you're in that position, you've got BPA. I mean, go for the flashy weapon, right? I mean, go for the guy that you know is going to get fans excited. Obviously, we're all Gator fans. We know what Kadarius Toney can do, and that's going to be right around the range. I think that he's going to be kind of pegged to go. So, I mean, I'd hate to see Toney go to the Bucs, obviously, because I'm not a Bucs fan. I wouldn't want to see him get the glory of playing with Tom Brady. But, hey, it'd be fun to watch, And, for me, for the listeners, this is how quickly Bucs fans can turn into snobs, right? Because I literally invited these guys. I said, hey, by the way, we're going to do our watch party or whatever this year. And Ben goes, yeah, you know what? I don't really care this year. I don't really care what happened. So I'm like, it must be nice to just be riding off a Super Bowl win and not give a shit at all about what your team's doing next. Where, for me, this is like Christmas, because this gives me that next big chance of, okay, maybe develop some stars, maybe have, contention moving forward. So, I mean, it's definitely different, the situation that we're in. But Ben, I mean, you know what it's like. You've been in that situation before, missing the playoffs. So
yes.
It's exciting for me. I do a ton of mock drafts. I always look at all different kind of scenarios.
How many? Ballpark. How many mock drafts have you done?
What are we up to now? Oh, man.
Ballpark it. Over 50?
Oh, yeah, easily over 50.
Over 100?
He's got
I think we're
got like one where like Lawrence falls to like 4, and it's like, do we trade up or do we not?
Even start. Ben, every like 3 weeks, Ben will send me a mock draft he did that just somehow the perfect player falls to the Bucs. And I'm like, I don't want anything to do with this. These mock drafts are fake. It never ends up the way that you think it's going to end up. I mean, obviously you can pencil in Trevor Lawrence, but even after him, do we know who's going 2 or 3 or 4 or 5? I don't.
I think we know the position. I don't think we know the players.
Fair, but still.
I think you're going to see – I think it's going to go quarterback 1 through 4. I think at the end of the day, whether the Falcons go quarterback or whether they trade out of that position, I think it's going to be Trevor Lawrence. You got Zach Wilson going number 2, the Jets. You got either – again, the rumors are that it's Mac Jones at 3. I don't buy that. I think it's Justin Fields going to the Niners. And then number 4 – is going to be Trey Lance or Mac Jones. And then there's going to be that 5th quarterback going to be floating around after pick number 4. And I think that gives the Dolphins maybe a chance to trade back another spot or 2 if they want to. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the quarterbacks shake out.
Yeah, Peter King has Trask going in the first round too. Now Peter King thinks 5 QBs will go.
Yeah, I mean, I can see it.
6.
Oh, math.
Right. So
yeah, 6 going easy.
Lawrence, Wilson.
Yeah, that'd be 6.
Fields, Lance, Jones.
It's possible.
Trask would be 6.
Yeah, because there's going to be somebody on the back end of that half that is going to want to like try and get a quarterback under that rookie deal like they did with Lamar a few years back.
I mean, look, if EJ Manuel and Christian Ponder can be first-round picks, then anybody can be first-round pick.
Yeah, Christian Ponder was the jaw dropper. It's like, what?
Oh, my God. Yeah, that worked out. We're on the Craft Beer Playbook. It is season 2, episode 1. Happy to be chatting with a friend of the show, Florida man, Bucs fan, Ben, our buddy, as he joins us here. So that's a little Bucs talk for you. And you just mentioned some Knowles. We mentioned a Gator. Let's head to Gainesville with a little talk here. And, Mike White is a guy that comes up a lot in conversation with Gator fans, Florida basketball coach. Some people
say
his
name right. It's now Mikey Midseed.
Mikey Midseed is a nickname. I don't have a dog in this fight because I'm still kind of like in the middle, although I've kind of leaned on the side of like it's time to move on. Couple transfers come in though, right? You saw a lot of guys leaving. Confidence level, if you're giving me a percentage, how confident are you in Mike White winning a national championship with the Gators at some point?
Depends how much time you're willing to give them.
Well, I think that's part of your response, right? So if you think the is high, you must assume he's going to be there for a little bit.
I mean, there's no telling. And the way college basketball is going too, I mean, it's kind of a cop out, but there's no telling. Rosters are turning over every year.
Would you give him 50%?
I'd be under 50, honestly, 40%.
40%. Brian.
I mean,
chance to win a national championship
with the Gators in his career.
Well, if he doesn't do it with the Gators, I don't know who's giving him another chance.
Apparently, he's high on Arizona's list. Apparently, Arizona's trying to pluck him from us after getting rid of Sean Miller.
Let's swap coaches then. No, I'm going under 50%, but I have a counter question to that. So, if I were to say, and this is for both of you guys, in the next 3 years, okay, and I know I'm kind of extrapolating his chances here, but let's just say in the next 3 years, what would it take for him to accomplish, for you to want to keep him?
He'd have
more
to keep,
beer.
He'd have to keep winning the tournament, and he'd actually he's had what I think the best seed he's had was a 3 or maybe a 5 seed, and they just skated into the Elite 8, and that was half Billy D's team. And so I think he would actually have to build a team and not just make the tournament or make a deep run in the tournament. He'd have to be like a top 3, top 4 seed and then make a run in the tournament where he
What's
actually
a run though? So be more specific. When you say a top 3 or 4 seed and make a run, if you were to put stipulations, say, okay, Mike White, you need to do this or we're firing you. What's that look like? 25
wins, either an SEC regular season or conference tournament championship, and then a top 4 seed, and then at least the Elite 8.
I just don't think he's ever going to be that great regular season. Like, I give him credit because he's a tournament coach. Obviously, they blew the game against Oral Roberts, but they were 2.5 minutes away from a Sweet 16, appearance. And if that's the case, then we're talking about how it doesn't matter what seed Mike White's teams get. He's going to make Sweet 16 or better every time they're in the dance. Now, again, that didn't happen, but they were close enough that I think it's still relevant conversation. So I think, and this is what I ask a lot of Gator fans, like, can you live with being mediocre in the regular season if you're guaranteed at least one tournament win every time Mike White is your head coach? And so far, that's been the case. He at least gets one, if not multiple. And I don't know, it's a tough life to live when you're used to, Billy D's old teams and filling that shadow and always being 1-2 with Kentucky, if not, maybe one other team in the mix, but
that's the argument, though, isn't it? Like, Billy D came in and built the program. So when Mike
over a long stretch, though.
Okay, but it's already established when Mike White steps in, and I think that's the main critical factor that Gator fans have towards Mike White is that you can't compare the early. And a lot of people that try to support Mike White say, "Well, look at what Billy D did in his first, 5 to 10 years or whatever." And you look at that and say, okay, but they inherited 2 completely different situations. Like, Mike White came in on the heels of like 3 straight Elite 8s, when Billy D left. So you're having a what? What do you mean?
Yeah, but that last Billy D team was bad. They made the NIT and lost like the first round.
No, there was a stretch where
there was that stretch, but then
the last 2 years of Billy D were not great.
We're not great, and we made the NIT his last season before he was already out the door before he stepped foot in the SEC championship.
Okay, so there was that stretch though where we made the Elite Eight 4 straight times, right? So that was
for sure, yes.
That was under who?
That was under Billy D. And those teams also, to be fair, those teams had between 7 and 11 losses. And one of those years we were 7 seed, they got a 2 seed bounced, kind of like we had a chance this year. So I mean, obviously Billy D's the GOAT. He's the best Gator coach basketball of all time.
Would you guys agree with this? I just feel like watching Billy D's teams, I felt like there was better cohesion and development throughout the year. Like early on, and I just felt like towards the end of the year, they got better. You could see consistent progress, and I feel like I just don't see that with Mike White's teams.
Right. And I will say Billy D lucked out early on in his career. Kentucky wasn't Kentucky. Because once Coach Cal came on, Mike White's had to fight Coach Cal. And now the SEC, I feel like, is a lot better basketball conference than it was back then. Because even back then, Billy Gillespie had Kentucky as a clown school. I mean, they were like barely making tournaments and stuff.
Right, but doesn't that contribute to part of the frustration, though, with Mike White? You see these teams now, like Arkansas having a great year. You see Bama now obviously stepping up.
Yes.
To see these other schools that have been so bad for so long, and the Gators, who have already had the background established, they're the ones struggling to be relevant while these other teams are stepping up, when for so long it was literally just Kentucky, right?
Right, yeah, it was Kentucky and us for like the longest time. Tennessee every now and then would have a very good team too.
I used to do this with the Bucs, Ben, and you remember, I used to do this with the Bucs and Jameis because there's certain fans that are just diehard that are like, there's nothing this guy can do that'll make me bail. So I used to ask Bucs fans, like, at what point would you bail on Jameis? So I'm going to use that same sense and theme to ask you about Mike White. Like, what has to happen to where you're completely out on Mike White? Like, what in the next couple years?
I'm already got one foot out the door, honestly, but and I've been one of his biggest supporters, but honestly, I mean, he's got to put a team together who like Brian's talked about it numerous times, and this is one of my favorite times was the Wilbekin years when I would go to basketball games with Brian all the time, and he's like, you know what I love about coming to these Gator games? I know we're gonna win when we walk into O-Dome, and like that's what we need from him at least 1 year to where we know, okay, we might drop 4-5 SEC games. But night in, night out, we know we're probably going to win this game every time we step on the floor. That's what we need.
It's hard to believe that that's going to happen next season, but we'll keep our hopes high. A couple other subjects here as we wrap things up on the Craft Beer Playbook, Season 2, Episode 1. Zac Blobner, Brian Richie, obviously our guy, Florida man, Bucs fan, Ben, on board with us. I want to ask you about the Rays, Ben, just a week and a half in here. Glasnow had a hell of a start the other day. Your expectations on the baseball side of things when it comes to the Rays this season?
I mean, it's so hard to predict. They could, win 85, 90 games and get in the dance and see what you can do. But that team, the front office is so good every year. I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with this move, and it works out. So they've more than earned enough trust for me.
Okay. All right. So you think that they do sneak into the playoffs, and then you're just kind of like chipping a chair. Like once they're in, we'll kind of figure it out down the stretch.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they got a good enough lineup, great enough rotation. We lost Charlie and Snell, but they seem to be able to bounce back and figure it out pretty quickly.
Well, the Orioles had, by FanGraphs account, a 0.0% chance to make the playoffs, and they're actually playing decent baseball a week and a half in, as is the Red Sox, who everybody thought was going to be back down in the basement. So baseball, is doing baseball things, realizing there's 162 games. People are overreacting, underreacting, and it is so early in the season. We'll break down more of that. The last question I have for you guys here as we wrap things up on Episode 1 of Season 2, and this is the fun one. Julian Edelman retiring as a Patriot. Does he make
this is the fun one?
Does Julian Edelman?
It's fun, Brian. Just join
Edelman
in.
I don't enjoy getting angry, and this makes me angry. So this is
you don't have to enjoy it.
Brian's in Twitter jail right now, so he hasn't been on Twitter for 4 days. But it's a hot conversation on Twitter.
I'm not in jail.
Does he know that Julian, since he's not on Twitter, does he know that he retired?
That's a good question. I found out, Ben, before the show, he can't even click our Twitter links. It takes him to a page that he can't read the tweets. So it's a rough time to be Brian.
I didn't want to tell Ben because now he's going to go and blow up my mentions.
Oh, yeah. We're going to send so
Ben
much
is the
stuff.
ultimate troll. Literally, whenever I tell him something and I know he has like something that he can do with that information, I feel instant regret because now I know he's going to screw it. Like I'll put on, going back to the draft question, so I'll put on draft polls for my fellow Dolphins, and Ben always orchestrates just ruining the poll, going in and picking the worst answer. And I know it's him because there's only one answer that has that option. So I always know that it's him. But yes, I'm not in Twitter jail.
You're in Twitter jail. You're on Twitter probation.
Go ahead. Ask your stupid question.
You're on Twitter probation. So Twitter's hot right now because they're arguing whether or not Julian Edelman is an NFL Hall of Famer. Brian, since you can't tweet about it, I'll let you talk about it.
He's not. There's no debate. I don't understand where the debate for him being a Hall of Famer comes in. What's the argument for him being a Hall of Famer?
Well, he's got 2 rings.
Playoff numbers.
Okay. Go to the
playoff numbers
on the teams that win the Super Bowl.
Okay, I wasn't
automatically get in because they're kickers and they have a ring.
Well, I mean, we'll see what happens with Vinatieri.
A lot of people are saying he's the most clutch receiver of all time.
Clutch receiver of all time.
I didn't say it.
Oh my God, bro. I'm sorry. So I looked up his stats. He has 36 career touchdowns. 36 career touchdowns. You want to put that in the Hall of Fame?
I don't. I'm just helping you like breathe the Twitter version.
This is pure off-season poppy talk. That's all this is.
Exactly.
Is Julian Edelman
not true. This is a real conversation.
No, I will say
it's a real conversation amongst trolls.
In 2018, that one Super Bowl, he did have like 100, and he had like some big plays. So I will say he did ball.
They don't beat the Falcons in that Super Bowl comeback if he doesn't make that catch.
I tell you what, if they put David Tyree in the Hall of Fame for that catch, then Edelman can get in, and we'll call it even because of clutch plays. Don't give me that shit.
I think the helmet's in the Hall of Fame, to be honest.
The one that he put the ball up against.
Edelman's ever going to get.
No, I mean he's not a Hall of Famer, but I mean he was. I mean he was good.
So you guys know, and this is one of the ones we talked about this morning on the radio. So Matt Miller, NFL draft scout. He's a great follow. He does great work. He's starting to pop up on ESPN a little bit too. He was one of the main people that sparked the debate. I'm going to read his tweet word for word, Brian, since you can't look at the link. Edelman is, to me, a Hall of Famer. His impact in the playoffs were undeniable. Plus, he had 11 years of basically being Brady's go-to wide receiver 1.
Okay. So he's a volume-based, check-down receiver that benefited from a Hall of Fame quarterback.
11 years?
I'm just telling you what I read. I'm telling you what I
saw. That's fine.
Saw.
And I just gave you my debate, and debate me.
Well, you have to tweet at him to debate him.
Well, 2010, I mean, he had better receivers than Edelman on the team. Like, Wes Welker was there then, right?
Yeah, I think the argument was, though, again, that was his safety net. Whenever he was in trouble, he threw it to Edelman. And Edelman pretty much, in my recollection, came up with the catch every time.
Yeah, 2010, he had 86 receiving yards for the year.
Here's the thing, though. Even on that, like, knowledge, I'll agree with that. That doesn't mean that he's a Hall of Famer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
for sure.
I'll give Matt Miller that. 100%, you're right. That just doesn't mean he's a Hall of Famer, in my opinion.
It doesn't at all.
Till what? Till Gronk retired, he wasn't even the best receiver on the team.
No.
And that was like his whole career that he played with Gronk.
That's a good point. And who knows? Maybe he unretires in a year. Gronk actually said to TMZ, 69% chance that he unretires and plays in Tampa. I'm paraphrasing there.
Yeah. I mean, that would have. That would mean the only way he could have it is the Bucs would have. He'd have to take a pay cut. The Bucs would have to trade for him. So
a lot of guys do, right? That's what we said about Gronk. The last thing, actually, I have a bonus question for you guys since we're talking Hall of Fame. Who's more likely to get in, Zach Thomas or Rondé Barber?
Ooh.
Not who do you think should be in? Who's more likely, in your opinion?
Go ahead, Brian.
Well, okay, I do have to ask a question before I can answer because I've
been doing that a lot tonight. You're just questioning my questions.
Well, sometimes I need questioning. How deep has Rondé gotten though? Because I know that this year
Zach was in the finals last year.
Okay, so Zach also made it to the finals. Okay,
yep. So same.
They were all finalists. Okay, well, you're asking who deserves to be in?
No, who do you think is more likely to actually get in?
I'm going to say Rondé because at this point, it just looks that Zac is being just totally overlooked, even though if you look at his numbers, there's a lot of comparable stats to Brian Urlacher, who was a first ballot guy. I'm not going to go on my soapbox for Zach Thomas. I'll just leave it at that. I'm just saying that I think that Rondé probably has, because he played on the team that he did with that defense in the Super Bowl, I think he has a little bit more traction, probably a little bit more push to get him in.
Does it hurt Zach Thomas that he wasn't bald like Urlacher? Would that have helped his chances if he shaved his head sooner?
No, what hurt him
later.
What hurt him is not playing in Chicago. I mean, if Urlacher's not in Chicago or New York or somebody like that, he's probably not even thought second of him.
Right, because he was literally the only good player the Bears had for so long.
But no, I mean, I'll say within the next 2 years, and hopefully it happens together so we can make a trip up to Canton. Thomas and Rondé get in at the same damn time. That'd be pretty awesome.
I'd be down.
You guys keep dreaming. All right. It's been another great episode. Ben, we appreciate a few minutes. Florida man, Bucs
Thank y'all for having me.
You did great, man. Go tell the family we said hello.
I will. I probably woke the little girl up a couple times.
All right. Later, Benny.
All right. Y'all be easy.
There you go. All right, Brian, it's been another fun edition. Happy to kick season 2 off with you, my friend. It's been a lot of fun, and we got a lot of good things up our sleeve heading into the rest of this season. We're going to keep it to 13 episodes, similar to the first one. But I'm excited, man. I'm glad that we're getting back at it. The beers were great from Big Storm. Shout out to LJ again.
Yeah, man. Him suggesting the Arcus. I mean, there's like I don't even know what it is on the nose. Like the first sip you have is just awesome, man. It's just brewed with honey, Florida honey. I mean, it's a pale ale. It's got like a amber kind of color to it. It's awesome.
I like the Oats and Hose. I sniffed into that a little bit when Ben was talking. The guy that I bought it from at the ABC liquor store, where I got that one at least, he literally on the way out said, "This is my favorite beer that I've ever had." So very, very, very was excited to try that. But I like the Hurricane Hunter series, the one I got here, the New Zealand IPA, hops IPA. This thing's really tasty. I think you'd appreciate it as well. So some good beer, some good conversation again with our guy LJ over at Big Storm. Appreciate everybody for watching. We got season 2 to continue rolling on with our second episode. It's going to be next Tuesday. We're going to be live like this every Tuesday night starting at 6 o'clock with both our Drink Local segment and our Friend of the Show segment. Excited to bring you all more beer, more sports, more fun, more Zach, more Brian. And Brian, man, it's good to see you. I'm happy to keep this rolling, bro.
Yes, sir, man. Had a great time. And like the segment's going to bring on some more people here with these breweries and friends of the show. So I know we got a lot of friends out there. Can't wait to get to all of them.
Drink up, baby. Cheers. We'll see you guys soon.